All right, so in this next question, it's problem number 10, and I accidentally went through the whole lecture without pressing record, so I have it all written down, but I'll just tell you what I did. So number 10 here, notice it says, for each equation, choose whether the statement that describes its solution, if applicable, give the solution. There's two parts, part A and part B. They are independent of each other. So notice the options here, it says no solution, W equals to blank. So I wrote the answer already, but W equals to blank, or all real numbers are solutions. So you have three options whenever you're solving linear equations. So what does it mean that you have three options? Well, what it means is when you're solving linear equations, what it means visually, I mentioned earlier that linear equations are lines when you graph it. And we'll learn about graphing lines in another chapter. But if I was to graph the line, wherever it crosses the x-axis is the solution. So here's the x-axis and the y-axis. Wherever it crosses the x-axis is the solution. So if it's -1 here, that means the solution is x equals to -1, or whatever variable you're talking about. So there's an option where there's no solution. So the no solution is when you have a horizontal line that is either above or below the x-axis. So if you have it above or below, notice that it never crosses the x-axis. So that's why you would say that there's no solution. Now there's an option that says all real numbers are solutions. And what it means is when your solution or your line is a horizontal line that overlaps the x-axis. So notice if it overlaps the x-axis, how many points does it touch the x-axis? Infinite, right? All of the real solutions, all the real numbers are solutions. And again, it's real numbers because we're talking about real numbers, not complex numbers, which we'll learn about towards the end of class. So that's what it looks like visually to have these three solutions, these three options as solutions. Now, what does it look like algebraically? Well, algebraically, for you to get an answer such as a point here is how we've been doing it, right? We solve it, and in the end, we get a number, and that number is a solution. Now, algebraically, how do we get the answer no solution? So if you're solving your equation, and you end up in the end with a weird thing that says, that has 0 equals 7, all of the variables are canceled out, and you have some strange and false equation that is left over, for example, 0 equals to 7, that means that the answer is no solution. So you get a false statement, you get no solution. Now, lastly, if you are doing all your math work and then algebraically, you end up with something where it's a true statement at all times, 4 equals to 4, right? The variables are no longer there, just 4 equals to 4, then you will say that the answer is all real numbers. So if it's a always true statement, the answer is all real solutions. Or you could just say if it comes with 4x equals to 4x, so it doesn't just have to be a number, just an expression equal to an expression. Both sides are exactly the same. The answer is all real solutions. Now, let's see what that looks like in terms of this problem. So here in part A, I worked out all the problem here. So again, I'm so sorry. I already did this on the video and I forgot to press record, but I worked it all out. So long story short, if you work it all out, distribute, yada, yada, go through the steps of solving an equation, you end up getting W equals to -2. So that would be my answer for part A. So what that means is when I draw a graph of this line, it would have crossed the -2 on the x-axis. Part B, again, I go through the same steps of solving an equation, and notice as I'm doing this, I get -6x equals to -6x plus 1. I add 6x on both sides. What's -6x plus 6x? Just 0. So if you think of -6 cats plus 6 cats, the answer is 0. 6 cats minus 6 cats is just 0, right? So the left side is just 0, and the right side is just 1. So 0 equals to 1, false statement. So therefore, the answer is no solution.